Hey everyone. So, if you're in the app marketing world, you know things got complicated. Apple's new privacy rules basically changed the entire game, and measuring your campaigns on iOS can feel like trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing. But don't worry. In this explainer, we are going to pull back the curtain on SKAdNetwork, or SKAN, and give you the map you need to navigate this new terrain and, more importantly, to win. Okay, let's just dive right in. Here's our game plan. We're going to start with the new rules of iOS marketing, the fundamentals. Then we'll break down exactly how SKAN actually works under the hood. From there, we'll get into the huge upgrades that came with version 4.0, and then shift into the really practical stuff, building your strategy. We'll also cover why a mobile measurement partner is so critical, and we'll end with a little peek into the future with Ad Attribution Kit. All right, so first things first, let's set the scene here. Apple's intense focus on user privacy has completely rewritten the playbook for marketers. We are all living and working in a brand new privacy-first era. Look, if you've been pulling your hair out over missing conversion data, or you're just confused by all the delays and weird metrics, I get it. You are absolutely not alone. These are the exact challenges every single marketer is dealing with right now. But the good news is there are clear ways to tackle them. So what exactly changed? Well, here's the before and after. We came from the old world, which was all about the IDFA, the identifier for advertisers. This allowed for super precise user-level tracking. Now we're in the new world, a world of privacy-first measurement driven by SKAdNetwork. And the thing that kicked this whole shift off is Apple's App Tracking Transparency Framework, or ATT. You know that little pop-up that asks for your permission to be tracked across apps? That's ATT, and it changed everything. So that brings us to the big one, SKAN itself. I know it can sound super complex and honestly a little intimidating, but trust me, when you break it down, the core mechanics are actually pretty straightforward. So let's get into what it is and how it really operates. So here's the bottom line. SKAdNetwork, which is short for Store Kit Ad Network, by the way, is Apple's way of telling you, hey, your ad worked. Someone installed the app. But, and this is the most important part, it does it in a way that completely protects individual user privacy. No user-level or device-specific data is ever shared, period. The whole process really revolves around this delay timer. So here's how it works. A user sees your ad. They tap it, they install your app, and boom, a clock starts ticking on their device. After at least 24 hours, then this anonymous little message called a postback gets sent to the ad network. That delay is absolutely crucial for privacy. By randomizing the timing and bundling the data, Apple makes it impossible for anyone to trace a specific install back to a specific click in real time. And this new reality, it really forces a huge mindset shift for analysts. There's a fantastic quote from Priya Basan, a product director at Moloko, who says, "You have to prioritize the broader performance trend over isolated metrics. We're not tracking individuals anymore. We're measuring the big picture, the overall health and effectiveness of our campaigns." So Apple heard the feedback from marketers loud and clear. The early versions of SKAN, well, they were a bit limited. But then came SKAN 4.0, and wow, it delivered some serious game-changing upgrades that gave us much more data and way deeper insights. Okay, check this out. The single biggest change, by far, was this jump from getting just one piece of data back to getting 3. This was a massive upgrade. Instead of one single snapshot of what a user did right after installing, we now get 3 different looks at their activity over a much longer period. And these aren't just random data points. They arrive in 3 very distinct windows. The first covers the first couple of days, the second one gives you a look at days 3 through 7, and the third, amazingly, gives you a view all the way out to day 35. For the first time ever, we could actually start to measure longer-term engagement, which was totally impossible before. SKAN 4.0 also massively cranked up the level of detail we could get on our campaigns. We went from an old, simple campaign ID that only allowed for 100 different combinations to a new 4-digit hierarchical source ID. This expands the possibilities to 10,000. Just think about that. You could use part of the ID for your campaign, another for the ad creative, and a third for the geography. It's just so much more powerful. But this is all governed by a really cool concept called crowd anonymity. It's basically Apple's way of striking a balance between useful data and user privacy. The deal is this. If your campaign generates a high volume of installs, a big enough crowd, Apple rewards you with more detailed granular data. If the volume is low, you get less data. It's all about protecting the identity of any single user. So now that we understand the tools, let's talk strategy.
How do you actually use all this knowledge to build a winning iOS marketing plan? How do you turn this data into real, actionable insights?
All right, let's tackle the single most frustrating thing for pretty much every iOS marketer. You're spending money, you know installs are happening, but when the conversion data comes back, a bunch of it just says null. It feels like you're flying completely blind.
So why does that happen? Well, the answer is privacy thresholds, and it ties right back into that crowd anonymity idea. If your campaign's install volume is too low, Apple simply hides the conversion data to protect privacy. So the key strategy here is to stop running tons of tiny, fragmented campaigns. You need to consolidate them into fewer, higher volume campaigns to make sure you consistently hit that threshold. Somewhere around 100 to 150 installs a day is a good target.
Now, your strategy for what you want to measure also really depends on your app's business model. You get 64 of what are called conversion values to signal how valuable a user is. For a subscription app, revenue might not happen for a week, so you'll want to measure early engagement signals like whether a user started a free trial. But for a game that relies on in-app purchases, a hybrid approach is best, measuring both key events and any early revenue you see. Now, all of this can still feel like a lot to handle on your own. And the great news is, you absolutely do not have to. This is where a mobile measurement partner or an MMP becomes your most valuable player, your expert guide. I love this analogy. Think of it this way. SKAN gives you the raw, anonymous ingredients. It's valuable data for sure, but it's not a finished meal. An MMP is the master chef. They take those raw ingredients, they validate them, they enrich them, and they transform them into an insightful, actionable report that actually tells you the story of how your campaigns are performing. So what is that MMP chef actually doing in the kitchen? 4 really important things. First, they handle data validation, making sure every single postback is cryptographically signed by Apple, which is your best defense against fraud. Second, they enrich the data, blending it with your ad costs so you can see your true ROI. Third, they use incredible predictive analytics to look at those early signals and forecast long-term user value, which helps you get around those annoying data delays. And finally, they just make it all simpler with easy-to-use dashboards and tools. Okay, and finally, just when you think you've got it all figured out, let's look at what's coming next. Apple is always evolving, and the future of its privacy-preserving attribution is already on the horizon. It's called Ad Attribution Care. Ad Attribution Kit, or AAK for short, is the official successor to SKAN. It's built on all the same privacy principles, but it adds some features that marketers have been begging for. The biggest one, the one everyone is excited about, is the ability to measure re-engagement campaigns. This was a huge blind spot with SKAN. It means you'll finally be able to measure ads that bring your existing users back into your app, not just new installs. That's a huge deal. So look, the world of iOS marketing has definitely changed, but it's not an unsolvable puzzle anymore. You have the new map, you understand how SKAN works, you have concrete strategies to try, and you know the critical role of a trusted MMP. You are fully equipped to succeed and even thrive in Apple's privacy-first ecosystem. The only question left is your strategy ready for what's next?